stale bread, dried it out, and used that for your breadcrumbs. I knew you would have. There's just lots of different versions of like meat patties. So while this particular recipe isn't directly from the Great Depression, it's the same concept. So then we're gonna take our potatoes and shred them up. If you were making this at home and you're not as worried about the cost, you could always do this with shredded hash brown potatoes. Squeeze some of that water out. That way your potato pancakes get crispy on the outside. So to this, I'm gonna add in some baking powder and some regular flour. I want the flour to kind of soak up some of the moisture in the potato, season it up, and then an egg to hold it together. And we just mix this all together. That's it. Now we just fry them up in the skillet. Oil. You've seen me make the smashed tacos with the raw beef going on the tortilla. Same concept, but it's going to be cooked in the potato. These are going to be thin. I mean, they're pancakes. It's not like a big stuffed burger. These might be slightly larger than what's typical, but I'm thinking of dinners and not like appetizers. Okay, and then we take our meat mixture, place it down in, and you want to go almost to the edges. And then you do another layer of potato on top of that. It's like a little surprise inside. All right, so now we just cook it until it's all crispy and cooked through on the first side. Flip, and then we keep going. Oh, that's good looking. And this is substantial. I mean, that's a substantial portion. Pop these out, keep frying, and dinner's done. This is only half of the recipe. That is a good Depression dinner right there. I feel like I'm gonna eat it like I would a Waffle House hash brown. Oh, that is so crispy on the outside. How have I never heard about this before? This recipe has been hiding, and I will be the one to bring it back. I know it's not meant to be burgers and fries, but it is like just the perfect bite of that. The potatoes are cooked perfectly, salty and crispy around the edge. The meat is so tender, and you get plenty of it. Even though it was like a tiny portion, it feels like a meaty bite in there. I mean, look at that. I mean, this was the one I was least excited about, but it might be the winner. This is eggs with peppers and potatoes. This is another one that my mom makes on the regular basis, probably at least once a month. And it's just the meal that you make when you just don't want something like super heavy, but full of flavor. Now this one does incorporate some vegetables, but these were very inexpensive back then still. And then I saw in Miss Clara's videos that she used to bring this to lunch at school. She said all the kids wanted her lunch. So I'm just gonna cut my potato. And you want it kind of like thinly sliced because it just cooks in a skillet. You don't boil it or anything. My mom always just used green bell pepper. It's also the least expensive, but I love the flavor of both in here. And onion. I think you could get by with these meals that I'm making today. I feel like I could say $20. Definitely less than 30. So this is like a hearty meal for 2 people, let's say. So you could determine how many eggs you want to add based on how many people are eating. So I'm gonna have these already beaten up, and then we'll just add it all in the skillet. This one starts with a little oil. This is another good time. You could use the bacon fat or whatever fat you like. We're just gonna cook your peppers, onions, and potatoes until the peppers are really soft and the potatoes are tender. I'm gonna go ahead and season with a little salt. Of course, it's gonna flavor the potatoes and everything, but it's also gonna help these veggies soften. So once it gets going, I'm gonna turn the heat down a little bit and cover it. This way it allows those veggies to kind of steam, and it keeps the moisture in there so the potatoes don't stick to the bottom like they did earlier. 10 to 15 minutes, stirring occasionally. Now you can see how soft the potatoes have gotten. Season it with a little more salt and pepper. And now we just add in the egg, and it's gonna cook fast because everything is so hot. The egg just kind of scrambles in there, kind of blends in with some of that creamy potato. I mean, let me go ahead and disclaimer, this is not the prettiest of meals today. I feel like you're judging this book by its cover, and I don't want you to do that. My mom serves this up drizzled with ketchup, and it is the only time it has been acceptable to put ketchup on eggs, in my opinion. I prefer a little hot sauce. I'm sure they had ketchup and hot sauce back then, right? Can you believe how tender that potato cooked? And with those peppers and onions, and the eggs just kind of like blend in. Sort of like, reminds you of like a breakfast hash almost. You're gonna love this one. You wanna know ingredients that are cheap, but also hearty? Cabbage and noodles. And that is the name of this dish, cabbage and noodles. It actually goes by a traditional name, haluski. In addition to things like potatoes and onions, cabbage is also very hearty because it lasts for a really long time. It was super cheap, easy to grow. So I am shredding it, and then it will sort of like blend in with the noodles. So it's a way to kind of add nutrition to like a not so nutritious plain old pasta. And of course, onion. The onion is going to melt right into everything else. Recipe calls for a lot of butter, but to save money, you could use the fat that you have stored on your countertop, i.e. bacon grease. So I'm gonna get this going. You also wanna bring a pot of water to a boil for the pasta, and then we'll combine the two things. A little salt to help soften those. I just like to give those a little head start, and then we'll add in the cabbage. Plus, the smell of onions cooking in bacon, A+. All right, so you wanna cook this down until it's super tender, but you're not really looking for color in this traditional recipe. However, if you're really wanting to maximize the flavor, I would try to get some caramelization on this. So this will cook down about 10 minutes. The noodles will cook about 5 minutes. When the cabbage cooks down, of course, it's like buttery, tender, especially mixed with those onions. But it also kind of has like a subtle sweetness to it. Now for the butter. Let this all melt together with the hot pasta. Taste for seasoning. It's another good one, y'all. It's another good one. All right, so now a little more butter. And then into the oven, low temperature, about 300, just until everything kind of comes together and it might lightly brown on top. Hot, steamy, delicious, comforting. I feel like you don't even have to do the oven step. You could just like let the cabbage kind of smother a little more on the stove. Each bite of pasta is gonna have the cabbage and onions like naturally in it because it's all kind of cut the same shape. I almost feel like this is another one of those like sick day meals because it is so just like cozy. The onions like have melted into this. They haven't caramelized, but they've gotten kind of sweet in there. Cabbage is tender. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this meal. We know bread was cheap. Bread